button.
Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the TRR Sprint Series here today for the 1 hour of Zolder. Once again I'm joined by my co-commentator Regan for what I can only say is going to be a fantastic race.
Yeah, this is set up to be an absolutely fantastic round of the championship here in round 5, going into a circuit with quite a bit of credibility and history here in TRR. It is around 2.5 miles and 10 turns of FIA Grade 2, some of the tightest sections of Grade 2 we've seen in GT. And it's going to make for one hell of a situation here for a lot of these drivers going into this round. As now we approach the midway point of the season, next 2 rounds up ahead are our Super Sprint and our second 2 hour of the championship. So these are going to be among these pivotal rounds in deciding this season's champion.
Yes, indeed, and we just join us as well just for the end of practice here. About 3 minutes left to go before we can dive straight in to the qualifying session. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes out. So looking through the practice times, we're actually seeing quite a mixed up order from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at some of these timings coming out of free practice at the moment, Luca Heinz sitting atop the top of the positions here, 127.697 in the number 433 McLaren 720S. Dylan Hart from Orion Racing, sporting his red and white TRR livery on the number 8 Lamborghini Huracan, sits second by only 3 tenths away. Dennis Kuhleman rounds out those top 3 positions. Ian Skeen just makes his way up into the top 5 ahead of current championship leader Adam Saunders. And also see further down the line, a driver with quite the weight on his shoulders here coming into this round, Marcus Pilkington, who is renowned for having a 100% win rate here at the Circuit Zolder, winning the last 2 times the event was ran back in Season 3 and Season 2 respectively. He's got a lot of weight on his shoulders here to contend with keeping that record alive. Currently sits in the 6th fastest position, 8 tenths away from the fastest time in free practice. Of course, free practice programs can be many and varying, so for a lot of these drivers it may not be directly about getting that qualifying pace nailed down. Right now it could be a case of testing the longevity of the tyres, testing the car's capabilities under racing load fuel. So coming into this leg of the session, it's going to be more about the sort of strategy aspect here. We'll definitely see the cars get a lot closer, especially inside that top 10 at the moment. 10 what is it, between 1st and 10th here is about 1.5 seconds. That is between Luca Heinz and Serko Jessen.
It's a very close-knit pack there, you see. Actually, I think it's a bit of a surprise seeing Heinz that high up this early on in practice, but as you mentioned, Regan, you can't be judging things too soon. I'm sure we'll be seeing the real true pace come alive in just a moment's time when qualifying finally gets underway.
So if we could get a look at the championship coming into this round, like I say, these next 3 rounds are going to be serious deciding factors in our championship battle at the moment. From what I understand, it's still incredibly close coming out of last round in Suzuka between Adam Saunders and Paul Muller in contention for the lead of the championship.
That's absolutely right, Regan. Currently, the gap is fairly large, actually, splitting the 2 of them, but that's mostly because Muller has missed a race. And had he even just turned up that race and got a few points, I'm sure it'd be much closer than what it is. But even still, for what we've had, I mean, it's been what you can call domination from Saunders, only not winning a single race so far, coming first in 3 and second in 1 other. Currently sat on 173 points, whilst Paul Muller currently sat in second after only taking part in 3 races, finishing first once and second twice. These 2 cannot be separated and cannot be took away from the top 2 so far, but he sits on 132 points. So if I do math very quickly, that's about 40 points separating the 2 of them. 41 points, I do believe, is the complete gap between them 2. So still, as we know, things can change so quickly in the championship, so you don't ever turn your back on either of these 2.
And if we were to take a look at the last round of the hour of Suzuka, it was even closer between Muller and Saunders in qualifying, the 2 separated by just half a second. Going into the race start, when it actually came to the checkered flags dropping, it was 1.4 seconds that divided Saunders from Muller on his run towards the finish line. Marcus Pilkington joining them on the podiums at the end of the hour of Suzuka. Ian Skeen and Kai Tisdale making up the top 5.
I was going to say as well, just speaking of Pilkington, as you bring him up there, currently sat 3rd in the championship as well, with a bit of a dodgy start, I must say, or not dodgy, but a bit of an up and down start for the start of the season, finishing 7th and 8th, to then follow up with 2 podium finishes, 3rd and 3rd, and oh, we see Bush in the wall there, just finishing out the session. I do believe he'll just teleport back to the pits. whilst we just wait for the last few cars to finish up their laps. But yeah, back onto the championship. Currently, Pilkington and Letford actually are the two closest in the championship in the top end. I should actually say that just behind them, behind Letford, is Tisdall, with just 2 points behind Letford. Letford on 92 points, Tisdall on 90, so really not too far, splitting those two for 4th and 5th. The gap from 5th to 3rd is only 5 points as well, so that could really change up today after today's race. Still looking behind them to finish out the top 10 as well. We've got Kuhlmann in 6th place in the championship with 62 points. Skeen in 7th with 53 points. Archie Bush in 8th with 46 points. Harry J in 9th with 39 points. And in 10th is Niall Roberts with 31 points. So even still, this order can change so quickly. And there you go, as you mentioned, Regan, we do begin qualifying. You see a lot of people rushing out of the pit straight away.
Best among them there, Connor Letford and Marcus Pilkington, the number 296 Ferrari and the number 13 BMW. First two cars, they're very close to one another and make their way round turn 2. Very short run of things around this track in the grand scheme. Only 10 corners to contend with, but 10 very tricky, very challenging corners. One's definitely set to put the drivers through their paces over the course of the forthcoming hour-long race ahead of us here.
Yes, indeed. To see Pilkington, by the looks of things, just hustling on Letford just a tiny bit. They're possibly just trying to get away from the cars behind, trying to give themselves as much breathing room as you can. But one thing to take note of, this is a very small track compared to some others. And I mean, the traffic is going to be absolutely crazy to see with a currently 25 car grid. There's going to be a lot of bunching up, I'm sure of that, and qualifying is going to be very hard to get a clean lap in without anyone getting in your way, or at least without having to pass someone here. So it's going to be interesting to see how drivers can cope in a tight-knit space.
I think definitely one of these areas of contention here at Circuit Zolder. You see Pilkington go side by side with Letford. There almost looked like a little bit of wheel banging there on the exit of turn 8 at the Boulderberg Harschbeld-Bocht. Very long name. I think we'll just call it turn 8 over the course of this race. But one of the areas of contention I've noticed is at the turn 7 complex at Turlemann-Bocht. That features that top of the hill chicane and then the two sweeping right-handers. That actually accounts for a singular corner, supposedly, according to the constructors and designers of the Circuit Zolder, John Hugenholtz, who also designed the Circuit Suzuka. So a bit of background history on this track as well. That Turlemann-Bocht section in turn 7, we'll see as it becomes the basis of the start of Sector 2 after the Kleiner chicane. We're still watching on board with Pilkington and Letford, the two now exchanging positions on their run into the hot laps here. The exit of turn 4, the Lucien Bianchi Bocht, down towards the Kleiner chicane. This whole area of the track, this middle sector, forms the basis for one of the hardest sections of the track. We've seen a lot of drivers struggle through this section. Even when I used to race GT, I briefly raced GT back in season 2. Yeah, that was, I believe that was Hart. It was Dylan Hart there off at the Kleiner chicane. Even when I was with Aston Martin in season 2, this was an incredibly tough section of the track to nail down. Even harder so during the race when you've got the pressure of drivers right behind you. As we head down towards turn 8, the Boulderberg Harschbeld-Bocht. And in towards turn 9, the very slight kink left there to the Jochen Rindt-Bocht.
Indeed, then the final corner, very hard to get right, I must say. It tightens up on you so much. It's very deceiving on when you can get the power down, and it makes you think you can turn in much earlier than you actually can. And as you see there, both of them seem to get it nicely done through the final corner. And it is going to be Pilkington setting a 128.7 and Letford a 129.8. So Pilkington, as it stands, provisionally on pole. And I say that straight away, it's been pipped off it straight down. There's Paul Muller with a 128.4, pipping him off provisional pole right now.
Paul Muller doing what Paul Muller does best, that's finding pole position and putting himself in it. You can see at the moment he's not alone in his conquest for things. Next two drivers to get across the line there were Mike Wade, Nye Roberts and Monty Bush. They're 4th, 5th and 6th respectively. Anywhere between 1.9 and 5.5 seconds off of that time. So a long road to travel here, but a lot of drivers still within that vital 3-second barrier. That would be the entire top 5 coming into this race. We now see Dennis Kuhlmann gets across the line, sets the 4th fastest time. Chris Elliott goes 6th fastest there in the number 64 Mercedes.
We just follow on board now with Saunders looking potentially to try and pip Paul Muller of pole position, but by the looks of things he's on a very good lap so far. Can he find the time through the final few corners? to show for that good time as he now gets onto the final straight and crosses the line around about now, and it's going to be P2 there, 128.692, so only just behind. But it kind of sets the standards for both these title rivals, and it looks like, by the looks of things, it's going to be race rivals 2 here once again.
Really is something you love to see over the course of... Oh, I say that. Pilkington's got across the line, put himself in between Saunders and Muller. He's only 200ths of a second on the fastest time, so it is really nice. I was going to say, it's really nice to see two drivers go head-to-head in contention for a championship throughout every round of the season. But now we have, very likely so, 3 drivers in contention for that championship at every round of the season. Luca Heinz goes 3rd fastest, relegating Adam Saunders down to 4th. Nye Roberts goes 5th fastest there in the number 11 Ferrari 296. Ben Hart goes 7th fastest in the number 8 Lamborghini Huracan.
Just joined on the board with Kuhlman right now. He's on a very good lap by the looks of things right now, looking about 1.3 seconds up on his time, and as he crosses the line now, it will put him up into P6 there, so 128.9, still not too far off the fastest times at all there. So actually, as we're in the 14-minute mark right now, let's just quickly get a look at the times, and as you can see, the gap, oh my word, look how close those times are at the top. Paul Muller sits on provisional pole by 200ths of a second right now to Pilkington, and only just behind him we've got a 10th behind Muller, and then all the way down to P7 right now is within a second of first place. What a grid we have here today.
Adam Saunders has just got onto pole position there. 128.195 puts him 0.2 of a second faster than Paul Muller. Pilkington next towards the line as we hit the 14-minute mark here. Toward the line, Pilkington goes. And up to the fastest time there, 127.867. So Marcus Pilkington looking at a 3 for 3 here in Zolder. He is hunting down a 3rd victory in a row at this venue, not looking to back down on any one driver here, not giving them the advantage.
We will actually follow him because once again he's looking very, very close to that previous time. Will he be looking to improve once again and extend his lead at the top, or will he just miss out for now and have to go again after? We'll find out in just a moment's time. Still, you see, he's only just behind his time, just 200ths of a second off the pace as it stands. And he actually sends it through the chicane, basically getting a lot of airtime there. That may lose out or make him miss out on a positive time, should I say there. Sorry, I cannot get my words out, it seems. For he now heads down into what is that turn 6 there for whatever reason that chicane was? Oh no, it is on my map there. I was looking in the complete wrong place. I'm not going to try and say the name of that corner because I'm going to struggle. I believe it's Turlemanbocht or Turlemanbocht. Before then heading into the turn 8, which we will definitely not try and say because that is a very, very long German, Belgian word.
Boulderberg Harshbelt Box.
Thank you very much. But as we now head down into turn 10, the very last chicane of them all, the tightest one of them all, the hardest to judge chicane, in my opinion. But he does seem to get it right, but it's not going to be an improvement by the looks of things. He did manage to claw back a lot of time in the last sector of that lap, but it still just wasn't enough, only just. So we quickly just scroll through the drive to see who's on the lap, and here we are on board with Heinz, currently sat in P4, and now still not too far off the lead pack right now, and still looking very, very close to his fastest time so far.
One driver we've yet to see set a time as well. He's just exiting the Kleiner chicane on the run down to Turlemanbocht at this time is Aaron Williams, another heavy hitter in the top 5s quite often in this series. Aaron Williams is going to be punching up towards that top 5 hopefully by the end of this qualifying session, so we may definitely see another contender in the mix here. Right now it's already looking quite flavorful in that top 5, plenty of different brands involved in that. You've got BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini and McLaren all in that top 5. And all within a second of one another.
Heinz has improved. He's gone up to 3rd there with a 128.230. So all the times keep on creeping up as the session goes on. This is going to be really, really interesting to see. I do not think we're over for that first place battle. So we do just catch the end of Wilson's lap, and it doesn't, or Williams' lap, should I say, not Wilson, as he goes around turn 1 now to get his first lap underway.
Speaking of Luke Wilson, though, he is participating in this round. We were expecting to see him last week at Suzuka. Now Luke Wilson makes his appearance in the number 212 McLaren, currently in the pit lane at this time, and he's alongside Dylan Herbert and Carl Buchel in the pits at this time, as well as Jacob Althaus, who most controversially has taken a swap from the Nissan, now getting behind the wheel of the number 9 Lamborghini Huracan. For that reason, he'll be taking a qualifying ban.
We just have a little bit of an input from one of the drivers in the chat right now saying that pole should be around 27.6-ish, they say. So if we look at the timers once again just very quickly, we see that pole as it stands is on the 27.8. So apparently expect to see 2 temps took off of that time right now. That's going to be very, very hard to see because that lap from Pilkington was a stormer. But if we see any more improvement, I will be very, very amazed.
Well, we're at 10.5 minutes left to go. Looking at things at the moment, subject to change, of course, as the session continues. But Marcus Pilkington holds on to pole position. Adam Saunders P2, Luca Heinz in P3 as he heads down towards the line. It could be a move up a position here for Luca Heinz. Stays in third for this time. Paul Muller 4th, Dylan Hart 5th, Nye Roberts 6th, Dennis Kuhleman in 7th, Mike Wade in 8th, Serko Jessen in P9, Conor Letford P10, Shamelis in P11, Norbert Horvath P12, Monty Bush P13, Paul McHugh P14. And actually that moves down a position here as Aaron Williams sets his time, puts himself in P5. So now McHugh down to 15th, Chris Elliott to 16th. New driver, Benjamin Mark in P17. He's in the number 24 2015 Mercedes AMG. He's got the HW8 Race Labs livery on board as well. Oliver Barton, the last of the currently set times, is 18th. And we still have a few more drivers yet to set times. Among them, new driver as well with us today is Richard Franklin in the number 19 McLaren 720S.
Ooh, so a bit of an off
beautiful
there from
papaya orange.
Who was? I think that was McHugh who had a bit of an off there, but we're just on following on board now with Hart, who's currently invalidated, so we will unfortunately move away from him. We are quickly on board with Muller right now, who's looking very, very close to an improvement. He's literally balanced with his previous fastest time, and he's around the final corner. Is it going to be a good enough exit to improve, or is it? It's literally neck and neck with his own time there, but it was invalidated. And that one thing I must mention as well, invalidations are so easy to get at this circuit. There's so many corners that can easily catch you out. One in particular being the second chicane, or as they call it, the Turleman box, about turn 7. It's so easy to outbrake yourself and go over the second curb.
We see as well, just before Heinz set his last lap, it was only a 100th of a second between Heinz, and now it's only a 100th of a second between Saunders and Heinz. Luca Heinz then on his inaugural race in TRR, normally a driver reserved for appearances in GHR, is already making leaps and bounds here in qualifying. 8 minutes left to go. Still finds himself within a shout of pole position. He's only a 10th off, but he's only a 100th from the next position upwards. So could it be a front row start for Luca Heinz, or will Adam Saunders have anything to say about that? More importantly, for Marcus Pilkington, are either of them going to be able to catch him for pole position by the end of this session?
Well, one name that we threw into the hat earlier on was Muller, and by the looks of things, he's looking very, very close right now. 5 temps up on his time. He's gone up to there, rounding turn 8, and it's still
that could feasibly be pole position at this time, because all he needs is 3/10 of a second in order to get pole position.
Well, here he goes, rounding the final few corners here, round turn 10. What's it going to be? Can he get a good enough exit? He saw the rear of the car bump up a little bit there. He's actually going to lose quite a bit of time from it, but it's not going to be enough. It's still going to be about a 4/10 improvement, and it is going to be second. So we're 27.873.
0.06 of a second between Muller and Pilkington.
Look at that. Saunders as well, only a 10th behind Pilkington as well. So the gap between the top 4 even is split all by a 10th there. That is unbelievable. Whilst Williams sat in P5 just 4 tenths behind the top 6, all within a second of first. And even still, Roberts in 7th place, only a second and 5 hundredths off of that place. And even still behind him, just 300 separate Roberts and Kuhleman there. So wow,
an incredibly competitive grid.
It really is.
I am thoroughly looking forward to this round here. 6.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Things are razor thin between that top 4. Saunders gets towards the line then. Will it be an improvement up to pole? No, it won't. He'll hold on to 3rd position, but he's got plenty of time here before the end of this qualifying session. This is definitely suited to be one of the best qualifying sessions of the season, if not of all time here in TRR. So many drivers in contention for that pole position. There'll be plenty of drama once the green lights come out and we go racing here in Zolder. There's a lot riding on the line here. It's a very special track in the history of TRR, especially for Marcus Pilkington. He's looking to retain that 100% win rate and currently holding on to a commanding pole position. But you can see that time by Muller has maybe put a little bit of a a chip in his shoulder there because he's back out on track looking to improve from there.
Just on board with Kuhlman as he rounds the final few corners here, and it's going to be a major improvement for him. 2 tenths, that's puts him up to 7th with a 128.7. So the pack's still getting closer and closer to one another. As we quickly scroll through the order, we want to try and find Mr. Pilkington, and there he is.
Currently makes 7 drivers inside a second of one another. That is the top 7, all within 8 tenths. Nye Roberts just outside the second barrier in 8th. He's 1.059 from the fastest time.
We've got another improvement from Heinz here. About 2 tenths looking as he rounds the final corner. And it's going to be up to P1. There you go. So it's a 27.775. So there we go. There's the new time to beat, ladies and gentlemen. What a time that is. Can anyone get anywhere near that?
Luca Heinz has really put an upset in the balance here, especially weighing heavy on the mind of Marcus Pilkington next toward the line. Can he improve it up to pole? No, he can't. He's down in P2 with 5 minutes and ticking left to go here. He could be under threat for his 100% win rate. Will we see Pilkington be dethroned at his favourite circuit? Or will we see a brand new winner? More importantly, how is this going to shake up the series of events leading into the second half of this championship with both Muller and Saunders outside of the front row?
Well, currently on board with Saunders now. It's looking very, very tight once again with his fastest lap, but he is looking like a minor improvement right now. And by the looks of things, from what we looked at from the times earlier, a minor improvement is all you need to have a shot of pole position. As I mentioned, he's had a fantastic run through turn 7, and I mean, he's 2 tenths up right now. This could be an absolutely fantastic lap time for him if he keeps this up now. See now round
driver that's
coming
just made their way onto
8.
the track now at this time is Ian Skeen. Who I believe is stationary at this time. I believe he made his way out on accident. He's also taking a qualifying ban because he swapped over to Porsche, most controversially, coming into this round.
Well, hold your horses, Regan. Round in the final corner now is Saunders, and he's looking like an improvement by 3 tenths up on his time as it stands right now. This is looking like it could be pole. Is it going to be that? It is indeed. It's a 27.7 flat. What a time that is. But still, it's not over. Can we see anyone go anywhere near? And there you go, he crosses it, and it's not an improvement, but we will follow with Pilkington for this next lap now. So you go round in the first corner. Already for a moment there, it was a 10th up, but it was maybe just a bit too late on the brakes. He's now on the exit. He finds himself losing just that little bit of time. So he's now rounds turn 3 into turn 4. Can he get it? All right, these corners are so crucial. You've got to absolutely send it into him. But if you get even the tiniest bit wrong, clip the curb wrong, get a little bit too late on the brakes, you'll find yourself on the gravel. And once you're on the gravel, it can just drag you right in and drag your time right the way down. Still,
it's going to be very interesting here as we close down from 3 minutes now. And Luca Heinz and Paul Muller make their way across the start-finish line to start another set of flying laps here. So all drivers within that top 5, these pivotal starting positions. Aaron Williams next towards the line in the number 292. Will it be an improvement for the Mercedes? It gets towards the line, is still P5, so out for another lap at this time. For all 5 of these drivers, it is going to be incredibly close coming towards the line. Saunders now on his way down to the Jackie Xbox at turn 10. Looks to have been slowing down a little bit there. I think that was just getting the car stopped in a timely manner as he exits turn 10. A much smoother entrance to that corner that I've seen compared to other drivers in this category. Gets toward the line. Does not improve his time. So next towards the line, Marcus Pilkington in the number 13 BMW. Ahead of him there is the McLaren of Richard Franklin, currently P16. Marcus still in 3rd toward the line.
Oh, I think for a moment I wasn't sure. I think Williams had to go back into the pits because I saw for a moment the car seemed stationary. I think he may have had a moment just then.
Next towards the line as well, it's a double act here. Luca Heinz and Paul Muller heading towards turn 10. Neither
of which looking like they're going to 7-10 just to set themselves for what will be the final qualifying lap now. We do quickly go on board with the current pole sitter, if we can find him, that is. It's Saunders, and by the looks of things right now, he's so close to his current fastest lap right now. Just a 10th off it, heading around, I do believe that is turn 7. It is indeed now heading down towards the heavy break in turn 8. and how well can you get it. It's so easy to get wrong, but if you get it absolutely perfect, you gain so much time on the exit. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get anything from this lap, but he may be able to get that to the line just in time to set one more lap and give himself another shot at extending his current provisional pole. And it is going to be, you see just how much he slows it there, just to try and give himself the best exit possible. Or whilst we do so, we'll quickly try and find Pilkington, who's actually up on his time right now, maybe sat in third, but it was about a 10th up on entry, and he's actually lost it all on the final corner on the exit there, so he's had a bad exit, and that's going to mean that he does not improve, but he is still going to get one more chance, whilst we quickly go back to follow Heinz and Muller, and by the looks of it, Heinz is in the pits actually. So if I can find Muller in time, I'm not sure I will be able to. There we go, Muller is currently up on his time, but it's invalid. So there you go, Muller may not get to the line in time to get one more lap, and we'll follow just to see if he does get there in time. But as it stands, I do not think he will be there. Just not ahead as well, Kuhlmann got there just in time to set one more lap as well, so do not count him out either. As there you go, that is over, so Muller does not improve due to an invalid lap time. We quickly go back on board with Saunders, though, who's looking once again to improve on his time. Now heading down into what I do believe is turn 7. Once again, yes, you do. He gets it absolutely right. Loses time, so he's actually looking down. Stand, just not a 10th down. Can he find anything heading down into turn 8? He's going to have to throw absolutely everything into this corner. It's his last attempt. He seemed to get a bit early on the brakes there, trying to sacrifice the braking to get a better exit. Has it worked out for him? By the looks of things, it hasn't done much at all. He's literally level with his previous exit. Is it going to be enough as he now heads into the final few corners? But if I look on the map on that left side, it doesn't look as if anyone's attempting to beat it. And that does look like it may be the end of the session anyway. So by the looks of things, Saunders, and there you go, he's weaving. He knows that is Saunders on pole.
The last driver that could have possibly put a threat to that was Marcus Pilkington, but he went off for the exit of the Turleman box at turn 7, and that spelled an end to his qualifying. He'll start P3 alongside Paul Muller in that second row of cars. So we'll get a full look at the starting grid just before the formation lap begins here at the Circuit Zolder. Or the hour of Zolder, the third running of this prestigious event.
Yes, indeed. A note from the chat as well, just say any sub 28 is fantastic, or fire as they use for the emoji, and I do indeed agree. Most of the times you see here are just unbelievable. You've got to realise, well, it's only until you drive it for yourself you realise how hard this track actually is. It's so easy to make a mistake, so easy to get track limits. And I mean, some of the times you've seen there, I mean, the pole position time from Saunders is unbelievable. And all the times that followed were also very, very good. But here we go, then with a little 4-minute wait begins for the drivers to get underway for their formation lap.
So then, getting a full run of our starting grid, Adam Saunders on pole position starts in first of this race, alongside TRR. Second row comprised of Dennis Kuhlmann and Conor Letford and Nye Roberts make up 7th and 8th. The 5th row, Mike Wade and Serco Jessen. Behind them, Monty Bush and Misha Mellis in P11 and P12. Norbert Horvath 13th alongside Paul McHugh in 14th. They're ahead of Richard Franklin on his first race in TRR. He starts 15th alongside Chris Elliott. Oliver Barton starts alongside new signing Benjamin Mark in 17th and 18th. Archie Bush alongside Jacob Althouse in 19th and 20th. Ian Skeen and Carl Buchal 21st and 22nd, with Dylan Herbert and Luke Wilson 23rd and 24th. Aaron Williams starting from the pit lane.
That could make things very, very interesting on that end. I mean, at times we've actually seen people starting from the pit lane benefiting from it. Because as we know, first lap chaos is not out of the ordinary, especially in these sorts of series when everyone's absolutely gunning it through the first corner, trying to gain positions early on in the race and then try and hold for the rest of it. As we know, that doesn't exactly always work out, and that's where you do see a few incidents occur. But hopefully today we avoid that. Touching wood, of course, you never know. I do hope everyone gets through in one piece.
Absolutely, one moment.
No worries at all. So here we go. I mean, following that qualifying session, I can only expect a very, very close, intense race. But it must be said, this track is not easy at all to overtake on. It's going to be down to following the cars ahead, hoping for a mistake, mostly forcing a mistake out of people. We've seen a lot of drama in previous races we've done here, though. Contact between the top few drivers. We've seen, at times, even massive crashes between drivers you really wouldn't expect. It really is a track that can bring so much drama. As we do just wait for the 1 minute 50 to tick down, we wait for that formation lap to begin and the race to finally get underway. But it's really anyone's race right now. But from that qualifying lap, Saunders looking once again to be the man to beat, although Heinz, out of nowhere, appears to be challenging that first place. There we go, 1 minute 30 now left until the formation lap underway. The countdown slowly ticks down, and we wait for the race to begin. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a drink as well, get the chance in whilst I can, because it is literally non-stop talking once we get going here. There you go, 1 minute to go. Just hopefully everyone joining us as well. Welcome if you're new to the channel or new to the TRR series. Welcome, hope you enjoy the racing. I'm sure we will, as always, but I've really lost for words for who could win today and what to expect. I've missed a fair few sprint races here, but every time I've missed a race it's been unbelievable, and the last one I was here for was absolute chaos, so hopefully I don't bring that chaos with me once again. We'll see in just a few moments time.
30 seconds.
And there we go, finally ride on board and see who we've got. And that is some sight as well for the grid. You see a 25 car grid by the looks of things, and as we see there, actually very mixed order for the first few cars. It's a Ferrari, McLaren, BMW and a Lamborghini that lead the pack there, and then in fifth place of course we do see the first double of a Lamborghini followed by another one. And there you go, there is the green light for the formation lap to get underway, so we just wait for Saunders to pull away. There you see the little flash of the lights, and there it is. So Saunders gets us underway, Heinz follows slowly.
So a lot of differing strategies coming into this race. Of course, Zolder is not a track to be taken lightly. See the second of our two pit lane starts now being Monty Bush in the 530 car. He starts from the pit lane as well. In terms of what these drivers must be going through on the start of this race, Saunders, of course, is going to be, well, defend P1, hold off Heinz. Heinz is going to be at the closest position I've been here to P1. Do I look for an early doors move here, or do I let him wear himself out? Of course, it's not a risk one can often take when they're up against the Ferrari 296, a car renowned for its longevity. This vehicle that is being currently driven by Adam Saunders won the season 3 running of the Hour of Zolder when it was piloted by Marcus Pilkington. You can see that in P3.
Oh, we've already got some damage to a car there. Roberts, not too sure what's happened there. May have just got up on the curb and found himself in the wall, but you can see whenever the camera pans back to it, I don't know what has happened to the Ferrari there. Hopefully nothing too bad. We do scroll through, use the chance just to get a look at some of the liveries we have on the cars here, and I've got to say some of them, as always, looking absolutely fantastic here in the Sprint Series. And there you go, you did just get a better view of the damage on the board with that Ferrari. Still questioning what could have possibly happened to Roberts.
See, Ferrari are absolutely dominant in the midfield as well. 4 Ferraris back to back from and in the order. So down. A lot rides on the line here. You need quite quick wit about you, steely determination, level heads when it comes to consider this track's also had a 24-hour race before. One can only imagine what that would be like.
Well, here we go then. We see the cars finally start to double up side by side. It's going to be very interesting. Of course, first place having the inside line to the first corner, but that inside line quickly comes to the outside. So if the second place guy of Heinz here manages to stick it out around the outside into the first corner, and stay there heading into the second, he will find himself on the inside on a very looping corner that is very hard to stick it out on the outside. So we could see some brilliant battling straight away here. But Regan, if you'd like to get us underway.
So then it's round 5 of the sprint series here in season 4. We head towards the line. And as we cross the start finish line, we're green and racing here in Zolder. Already a fantastic start there by Luca Heinz as he gets side by side with Adam Saunders as we head round East at turn 1. You can see they're nearly on top of each other there on the run out of turn 1. Heinz still to the inside as we enter turn 2. Looks like Heinz is going to move into an early lead of the race. Then Muller gets Saunders, switches it back there on Heinz.
Oh my word, what a move that was from Saunders there. We saw Heinz go so late on the brakes and just was that tiny bit too much. And Saunders doing absolutely brilliantly just to slow himself down, get himself perfectly slowed to put himself into the gap.
That was a car going wide there. That was Dennis Kuhleman. You can see rejoining the track there alongside Connor Letford and Nye Roberts.
Oh,
now as we
we've
head
got a
down
massive incident there. A huge incident back at the back, at the first chicane.
Oh dear, yeah, looking down at this time. Caught up in the fray of that was Norbert Horvath. He's back to the pits immediately. Also caught up in the fray with the drive-through penalty is Kyle Bukal and Aaron Williams.
What happened there? I'm actually see whilst we were on board looking at that, it looks like Heinz just took the lead of the race. Or has he? It looks like they're going side by side. If the camera can actually pan in it, he has. Or has he? No, he hasn't. The thing is being very weird for some reason. So he still sits in second. For whatever reason, it does label Heinz as first, but he is indeed in second.
One of the cars further down the order. Looks like someone, yes, that's so Dylan Hart, the number 8 car. Serious damages on board that Lamborghini. The pits now at the exit of the first lap of racing here. Only 2 minutes in, a huge incident involving multiple cars on the field. Looking down towards turn 1, I think it might be nearly 3 abreast there between Monty Bush, Jacob Althouse and Richard Franklin. Althouse getting nudged out to turn 1 there at East.
We're still on board with the battle of the leaders, just 0.1 separate, and actually saw Heinz look to the inside just for a moment there, possibly thinking about a move. As I mentioned earlier, this overtaking the track is so tricky, as the track at times tightens up so much, leaving barely any room for 2 cars. So it is going to be a battle of strategy and wits to you, who can make the lunge at the perfect time. But as we know, heading down into turn 8, this is probably where one of the prime overtaking opportunities are, because it's heavy on the brakes and the track is probably at its widest as they run down towards it now.
This track is highly benefiting those mid-engine cars at the moment. The Ferrari 296, the McLaren 720S and the Lamborghini Huracan, they're all in those podium positions, all fighting within a second of one another. You can see the next car down the line, Marcus Pilkington in the BMW M4, 2.3 seconds from the lead of this race. So not entirely out of it yet, but nowhere near as close as the 2 cars right now behind Adam Saunders.
And we've got another yellow flag there.
That's Mike Wade at turn 8 that ran into some trouble there as well. He tries to rejoin the track. Looks like he's still off there at turn 8.
And allow people to drive through as well. Very well done. We see another... Oh, that's not a car off. That's someone in the pits for some reason. I do not like when the game does that. Just a quick run through the order of things there whilst we have the chance. And there you see Saunders does lead us, and Heinz in second, Muller third, Pilkington fourth, Letford down to fifth. And we saw a move just in the background from Wilson there to get up to P12. What a move that was down the inside. Letford in fifth, Robert sixth, Jensen, sorry, apologies if I say your names wrong here, up in seventh. Mellis up into 8th, Skeen in 9th, and Elliott rounds out the top 10.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Riley, because it looks like we might be going side by side on the run into the Turleman box. Heinz now to the outside, becomes the inside on Saunders as we enter the first part of the chicane section of Turleman box, folds back into single file. All this does is invite the BMW of Pilkington back into the fray there. Almost looked like we had a move on our hands between Heinz and Saunders.
He really did look for it there, didn't he?
It has been an electric start to this race already. Saunders, Heinz, Muller and Pilkington all right on top of one another. They're battling for the lead of this race. Saunders has had a very commanding start to things there. A bit of a shaky run into turn 1 on lap 1, but kept it calm and measured. By the time he got to turn 3, was back into the lead of the race and ahead of Luca Heinz. Luca Heinz, though, has been a strong aggressor on this field since the race started. He was 800ths faster in the last lap. He's been constantly putting the pressure on Adam Saunders, trying to shake him loose of his confidence here, trying to look for a vulnerability to exploit and get himself up into P1. Between these two at the moment, you have a strong defense versus an incredibly strong offense. So it's hard to tell, really, whose game this is going to be to play. Whose court is the ball in this time round?
I don't know. We've got a car disqualified from the session. It'll be the 772. I'm not too sure what's happened there. But still on board with Heinz and Saunders. This battle really is not cooling down. If anything, Heinz has had a fantastic exit. He's going to look to try and get himself to the inside of the turn 7 chicane. And is he going to look to the? Is he going to die for it? No, he thinks about it for a second. And there's contact between the
contact there. There goes Saunders around. Mild contact became major contact when the Ferrari bounced there off of the nose of the McLaren. Luca Heinz takes the lead of this race, but for how much longer? There was a tad bit of contact there. It's really going to be down to what Heinz thinks is the best judgment of things. I think he's going to keep going here as we head towards turn 10. Now right on him is Paul Muller and Marcus Pilkington. Pilkington then moved up into a comfortable P3. Of course, with a 100% win rate of this race, P3 just doesn't suffice. He'll be hunting down the next two positions like his life depends on it.
He will indeed.
For the BMW, though, you can see it's struggling at the midpoint of those corners where the mid-engine cars get a little bit more rotation. The BMW slows down a tad more. It's having to rely more on being in the slipstream of the car ahead or hoping for a mistake to try and get some of that pace forward. On paper, then, the BMW does seem to be at a tad bit of disadvantage to the two cars ahead of him. One must consider, then, the factor of the driver at hand. Marcus Pilkington knows this machine like the back of his hand. You can see already moving himself into frame alongside Paul Muller. Will it be a look at some side-by-side action between the Lamborghini and the BMW in the next couple of corners? We'll see very, very soon. They head round the Telemann box. Heinz still leading Muller and Pilkington in second and third. Not too far down the line, just under 5 seconds from P3 is Connor Letford. Down in P5 at this time, isn't out of the battle yet.
Must be said, that's going to be absolutely crucial coming towards the championship battle as well. How much of an impact that could make on the points deficit between himself and Muller. So we could see that gap between those two come crashing down. And if things go absolutely perfect for Pilkington here, if Muller's to find himself in any trouble, this could be a massive opening for Pilkington to get himself right into the thick of the championship battle.
At the moment, there is an enormous amount of pressure on Luca Heinz after that controversial move to try and hold on to P1 all the while.
And Pilkington's got for a
going
move.
side by side with Muller, gets into second place there ahead of Muller on the run towards turn 2 now. So what a move there, strategically planned out by Marcus Pilkington to get the move down into Eerst corner, turn 1 on Paul Muller. A very wide entry into that first corner. It's all about positioning to make sure that moves stick. I'm sure that won't be the last time we see a move executed down at turn 1.
I couldn't quite tell if Muller had made a mistake on entry to turn 1 there. For some reason he went so wide, possibly just missing his braking point, or as I mentioned, just going ever so slightly wide. It wasn't exactly a challenge for Pilkington to easily breeze on by through, and already you can see that gap coming right up to 0.5 seconds, 0.6. Pilkington is absolutely hunting Heinz down. You see the battle just behind. Saunders hasn't exactly let off just yet, as he's only not still up in 4th place, but he's got Letford just behind, 0.7 seconds behind him, and even still behind them, just 1.2 seconds behind, is Roberts.
Looking around the field as well, it's not like battling anywhere besides the front row. We can also see all the way down in 13th for the moment, battle of the 2015 Mercedes. Benjamin Mark only 0.6 of a second from Chris Elliott for control of P13. Looking all around the grid at the moment, Ian Skeen and Luke Wilson, 0.1 of a second between one another. Ian Skeen, by the way, started from the back. Oh,
that's a huge off. I believe that's Elliott completely off. He just lost the rear of the car heading into turn 8 and now finds himself off into the gravel, losing a lot of positions. Oh, be careful getting yourself back onto the track there. But no, he's
joins nicely there. He's ahead of the lapped car of Norbert Horvath, and 2.1 seconds there from Richard Franklin on the run into turn 10.
There we go, still on board with this battle between Skeen and Wilson as well. 0.2 seconds separating these two. The Porsche versus the McLaren. Can Wilson find a way through anywhere on the track. As we mentioned earlier, the track's so slim at times. It's so hard to find your way through, and as we saw a moment ago, with the first and second, it's so easy to find yourself in contact with how much the corners tighten on you and how close together you can find yourselves.
One thing to add as well, Ian Skeen starting this race not only for the first time in TRR with Porsche, but also starting toward the back of the field there after taking that qualifying ban for swapping the cars, has made his way impressively up to P8 in less than 20 minutes of racing.
Yes, indeed.
So leaps and bounds there by the AERT driver to make moves into the crucial top 10 positions on his first run of things in a Porsche 911.
Still look through the pack to see if anything's actually going on as well. Another battle going on P13 and 14. Mark versus Franklin here. Mercedes versus McLaren. Still, once again, two drivers that are very close together, but no action just yet by the looks of things. So we now see actually Pilkington is right on the back of Heinz. We could potentially be seeing a battle in action very soon between these two for the lead of the race. But still, Heinz leads just with a gap of 0.4 seconds. This could be very close.
You can see as well, since that incident occurred between Heinz and Saunders, Muller has sort of tapered off his aggression a little bit here, letting these two pick up the fight further ahead of him, hoping they'll trip over one another. He's given himself around 1.5 seconds of breathing space between himself and the chaos that is position 1 and 2. You can see he can't let off too much, as only 3.5 seconds from him at this time.
And Pilkington's gone side by side. He's going to get through by the looks of it. He's going to have the inside line heading down into turn 8, but can he be later on the brakes? Who's going to be the braver of the two? And you see Heinz turn right across Pilkington, trying to leave him no room at all. Pilkington will be having none of that. I'm sure he won't be very happy. But still, Heinz leads this race to a very aggressive move there.
Squeezed at turn 8 there. Heinz putting on a very strong and aggressive defensive performance here. He does not want anyone taking first place away from him. And right now, he is increasingly vulnerable to Pilkington as we head down towards turn 1. Will it be a mirror of the move he pulled on Paul Muller? Yes, it will be. He goes towards the inside at East corner. Will it be as effective as the move he attempted before? No, it won't. Heinz stays ahead of him as we head towards turn 2. All this has done, by the way, is invite Paul Muller into the fray. Pilkington goes to the inside. Watch this, Heinz to the outside there. Heinz gets a little bit unstable. That's going to invite Pilkington to come in now as we head towards turn 4. Marcus Pilkington moves into the lead of Zolder.
And watch this happen. Muller's coming right back at him as well. You see just 0.1, 0.0 seconds within their side by side. This is going to be fantastic if he can make a move here, but no, he pulls out just in time as the gap was rapidly closing. Heinz was having absolutely none of it. He lost one position. He was not going to lose another just like that. And all whilst this is happening right now, we saw that Muller's gained, but Saunders has actually got right back into the midst of things. Now 2.4 seconds away. You can actually see just how close he is there. This could turn into a 4-car battle once again for the lead.
That is a grim sight there for Luca Heinz. He's out of first position, now down to second. He's got Paul Muller on his tail and closing in fast. Now, like a heat-seeking missile, is an enraged Adam Saunders.
It is indeed.
This could very soon become a 4-car battle for the race lead. At the moment, Marcus Pilkington moves into the lead. He'll want to stay there for the next 46 minutes of racing to retain that 100% win rate here, but he's under quite a lot of pressure as he's got a tidal wave of new drivers behind him.
So we see actually Muller could be looking for a move here. He looks to the inside, almost trying to mirror the move that Pilkington went for, but you see Heinz having an absolutely brilliant send into the first corner. They're getting a fantastic exit and not giving Muller a chance to look up the inside. As he still just gets just enough of a gap to make himself safe from the switchback as well, which he's been victim to, I believe, 2 times in a row now from both Pilkington and Saunders. And still you see that gap to Saunders, it's coming down rapidly. And as I mentioned, gaps opening up. We see Pilkington now getting away 1.1 seconds of the gap from first to second. Pilkington looks to be trying to open that gap up and give himself a bit of breathing room.
Head out of the Kleiner chicane. Muller gets very unstable there on the exit of the Kleiner chicane. On their way now down to Turleman box at turn 7. And that little shake there from Muller's number 1 Lamborghini has brought Adam Saunders well into frame now. He's 0.6 of a second from Muller as we head out of Turleman box now down towards turn 8. Pilkington now carving out just over a second and a half there to Luca Heinz. Luca now under more pressure from the cars behind him than the pressure to try and get towards the car ahead. Now I think it's going to be a shift in the sort of understanding of what kind of strategy should I be adopting over the course of this race for Luca Heinz. He's now going to have to shift his mind off of trying to attack for P1 and now trying to defend for P2. Paul Muller having an absolutely electric send there out of turn 10, puts himself right nose to rear with Luca Heinz, despite being a tenth slower on the last lap.
We've got another yellow flag up towards the rear end of the track there. The car number 57 and all, he's back into the pits, I believe.
Sorry to interrupt you there. It looks like Muller was getting incredibly close to Heinz as we head towards turn 4. Muller nearly had a move at turn 2. You could see it is nose to rear, almost bump draft NASCAR style racing here between Heinz, Muller and Saunders on the run down to the Kleiner chicane. These three are totally enwrapped in battle here. Saunders has a big shake over the Kleiner chicane on the run towards the Terleman box.
Still, actually, Saunders actually had to drop off massively there, as you see. But as we've seen so far, every time he's dropped off, he's managed to claw it right the way back. Hopefully, he doesn't have a problem to have dropped off that much. But we still see Muller following so closely without error and somehow without contact. It's been absolutely brilliant to see them following this closely. But can it last for 43 minutes without any contact, without any trouble? By the looks of things, it may do, but only time will tell. We still see Pilkington actually opening up that gap. 2.4 seconds to Heinz now. He's doing absolutely fantastic to keep on opening that gap bigger and bigger by the lap. It's not opening up too much every lap. He's not getting a massive advantage, but he's getting just enough to the point where you can visibly see now it is growing and he is getting all the space he needs just to be able to manage his tyres a little bit better and possibly manage fuel as well. As we know, that can always come crucial come the end of the race.
See there, they're having differentiating lines out of turn 2 into turn 3 as well. Muller drops a little bit of time to Luca Heinz, and in fact drops himself towards the iron sights of Adam Saunders. These three getting closer and closer yet again as we head down towards the Kleiner chicane here on the run towards turn 5 and 6. Pilkington now just peeling away. He's comfortably moved into the lead of things whilst these three drivers trip over one another in contention for those podium positions.
We saw again on the exit to the Kleiner chicane, Muller had another massive snap. I don't know what, that's the second time it's happened to him on the exact same corner. You've got to be careful of that because you never know, like, just one snap that goes wrong can find you catching out into a spin. That could be a lot of time lost and potentially positions lost as well.
On their way now down towards turn 8, you can see it's getting incredibly close now. 0.3 of a second between each car respectively in this 3-car pack. Probably a driver who's got one of the best seats in the house for this battle is the 18th position car, the number 911 of Archie Bush. He's got a very clear view of these three tearing each other apart here on the exit of turn 10.
Now, one thing I think that's worth mentioning as well is as this race goes on, as time goes on, it's going to be so easy to get tunnel visioned on the car ahead, and that's when mistakes can easily creep in. Of course, Heinz will be keeping an eye on his mirrors, making sure that Muller's not making any lunges to the inside, making any very surprise attacks, but of course it's so easy to do at times. But Heinz will be trying his best, of course, just to keep an eye on the road ahead, but it's so hard to do when you've got cars following this close behind you. Or whilst Muller, of course,
something to note as well, Adam Saunders was significantly faster than Muller and Heinz on the last lap, so it shows that Saunders has the pace to pass these two, but the actual challenge of doing so is what makes Zolder such a captivating track. Yes, well, Saunders has directly more pace than these two drivers. He's going to have to time this to perfection each time that he does so to try and get these two by and try his hardest now to retake the lead of this race.
He really will. Just quickly look on board. I do believe there's another battle going on elsewhere. It is for P5 and P6. The gap just 0.4 seconds separating these guys. And very close by the looks of things. Can we be seeing any battle? I mean, the battles are happening all over. For a track I said earlier that looks like it will have no overtaking. We have seen an awful lot in these first few laps, haven't we?
Yeah, we really had to eat a bit of humble pie there on that statement where we didn't think we'd be seeing a lot of overtakes. We've been given overtakes by the baker's dozen here in Zolder.
Really have. Just quickly go back to these three, just make sure that nothing happens into the first corner, which has so far been the hotspot for overtakes. Gaps just seem to open up so easily, so much, but still nothing between these three in terms of position swaps or moves attempted, or so far as it looks, for now at least.
The way round turn 4, Muller got the better of the 2 exits there between himself and Heinz. And now, because of the pace of the McLaren in a straight line, puts himself level pecking towards the Kleiner chicane.
Indeed. Muller appears to have a very good exit there, but still, once again, just cannot get close enough for a move. It just shows, once again, how hard it is to get an overtake in, how hard it is to get a lunge in. Because we saw from Heinz's attempt earlier, he was easily close enough for a move, but it's then about just getting your spacing completely right, your braking completely right. Everything has to be absolutely perfect. And there you see it, Muller goes to the inside. Is he going to look to dive? No. Just once again, you see how close he is, but still somehow isn't close enough. And actually, in doing so, taking that tighter line makes him very open for a move from Saunders right now. As Saunders was able to take that wider line and sweep around to get a better exit, but still is not close enough for a move.
Muller as well, he's not only playing that mind game with Luca Heinz, he's also trying to get himself just a little bit clear of that dirty air, give himself a tiny bit more aero going into some of these corners where he's currently been sitting in the wash of that McLaren over the course of the last couple of laps here. In Zolder, it's putting his car not particularly at ease. In fact, it's causing it to be a tad more unstable, as we saw there out of first corner, and it's actually knocked a few tenths off of his current gap to Heinz, just put him right to the nose here of Adam Saunders as we enter turn 4.
I think one thing that's going to be crucial, that goes without saying, is going to be the pit stops, the strategy in this race. As we've known or heard from the drivers in recent times, it's actually been pitting later appears to be the kind of meta, the expected strategy, because from what we heard, it was getting the tyres fired up after your pit stop is near impossible. It's so hard to do, and that's why they leave it right to the very end of the race, just so that your slower times at the start are right towards the end, so that you get the faster times on the older, more scrubbed in tyres. It appears to be the way forward for these drivers, and as you can see right now, that does appear to be the way forward for most of these drivers here.
These drivers are on no shortage, though, of corners to warm those tyres up on, so that's not exactly to deter them from swapping tyres, but as you say, building that heat is incredibly tough to do rather than maintaining the heat you already have. It's a lot more energy required to do so, so for these drivers, it's really a risk assessment of things over when they should go in, take those new tyres and take that risk and spend the extra time. And that's
as I mentioned,
with what everyone else is trying.
I was going to say, we do see a few cars actually pulling into the pits as we mentioned that, so that is going to change it up for a few drivers, because of course you may be looking at the drivers all around you and trying to differentiate your strategy from what it would be normally. And actually, I'm going to interrupt myself. There's a little light for a moment. Paul's going to go for a move, but in doing so allows Saunders to have a look inside for himself, and you can see just how close the Ferrari of Saunders is for a moment. Is he going to look for a move? No, he looked very much like he was going to dive to the inside there of turn 4, but thought against it. But still, look how close he is, practically pushing him along the straight, heading down towards the Kleiner chicane. Is he going to look to the inside? He's going to pull to the inside. Is he going to dive? No, for now he sticks behind, but you can see the battle is still heating up very much. Someone's turning up the pressure cooker.
These three no more than a car's length from one another at any time over the course of this last lap. Because he actually starts to spread out a tiny bit there. The exit of the Telemann box puts Muller incredibly vulnerable to Saunders. You can see already motioning himself to the inside, letting Saunders know, I've got you covered. You try and run on the inside here and I'm going to get you.
And there you have it, Saunders seeming, I wouldn't say desperate, but looking very much more racy now, looking to try and make a move wherever he can. He's been tired of being sat down in 4th, back behind Muller, but Muller so far showing absolutely no gap, nowhere through for Saunders to go. He's sticking where he is in P3 and actually more looking ahead than behind right now.
All three of these drivers in the low 130 bracket. Marcus Pilkington ahead of them was in the high 129, so continuing to pull away all the while. Stop-go 30-second penalty issued to Richard Franklin, the number 19 McLaren 720S there, for infractions in the pit lane.
There you go. Oh, and Muller seemed to get a little bit on the gravel there on the exit of turn 4, and could that allow Saunders to have another look once again? As mentioned earlier on, again, turn 4 is so easy to get wrong and find yourself going just that tiny bit wide, and just doing so much as dipping a wheel into the gravel can slow you right the way down on your exit of the corner.
There is another battle as well, and 4 cars in contention at the moment. Nye Roberts leading a 4-pack of cars. Saunders is off.
No, he's not. That was disconnect or connection issues there. I don't know. For a moment on my screen, he went straight on, but no, he is very much still there. Ignore me. I don't know what happened there, but unfortunately, no, fortunately, should I say, he is still racing. Definitely not unfortunate.
You can see at the moment, side by side between Ian Skeen and Nye Roberts. Skeen looking to go up into 5th. Connor Letford alongside him as well. This battle going on down between 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th on the run down to turn 8 at this time. 3 wide between Wilson, Letford and Skeen on the run out of turn 8 there. Wilson having to go side by side with the lapped car of Dennis Kuhleman on the run towards turn 10.
What a battle this is. It's still not over by the looks of things. We see Roberts, I believe that was, diving straight into the pits. Or whilst I believe this is Letford, or is it Roberts that's battling here? I can't actually tell who's battling who. I think it's Letford
Roberts
and Skeen battling.
Pits. Letford and Skeen alongside Wilson on the run down towards turn 1. Skeen to the inside of Letford and they make contact there. So the 722 car bounces the 296 off track there. Now as we head towards turn 2, Luke Wilson's going to have quite the advantage here. The Porsche could have potentially picked up damages in the impact. Doesn't look like significant damages at this time to Skeen's car. As we make our way out of turn 4, looks like no damage to the steering, but it's put Luke Wilson in much better stead to try and have a go at a position change. Looking back towards the field at the front here, but just quickly take a look and see what's going on up in 2nd and 3rd. Adam Saunders and Paul Muller still incredibly close to one another. Actually, jumping into the pits, I should imply as well, jumping into the pits was Luca Heinz. So Heinz now emerging in 9th position. He was the first of that top 5 to take a leap into the pits. Nye Roberts on his way out of the pits and laps there. Richard Franklin on the exit of the pit lane.
Still on board with Skeen and Wilson. These two, once again, it's another battle where the cars are just so close together and following each other around the track. And that is the nature of this track at most of the time. Just follow the leader, see how close you can get, just stick in behind, wait for a mistake. And when the gap does open, you leap right to the inside and try and take it. But as we've seen so many times as well, it's so easy to lead to contact. And you see there just how close Wilson gets to the back of Skeen, but no contact. And we saw
all my hairs just went up on end there. That was way too close between Wilson and Skeen. I thought that was almost certain impact on the way at East corner.
But still, these two so close together. 0.1, 0.2 seconds. Oh my word! If I can get my words out, separating the two. But the McLaren once again looking towards the outside line. Is he close enough to force Skeen to the inside? He is. They're going to go side by side.
Ooh, so there was a little touch there between the two of them on the run into the Kleiner chicane. Skeen moves back out into the lead. Wilson shifted down right onto the nose of Dennis Kuhleman, looking to unlap himself.
Still, this battle very heated. You see, Skeen doesn't get the best of exits, and that's going to allow Wilson to get right back into the slipstream. And this battle is going to get reignited straight away now.
Must say as well, it's been an impressive performance by Ian Skeen. Getting behind the wheel of a car he's not super familiar with and moving it elegantly there to P5. Of course, there was that small contact between himself and the 296 of Connor Letford. I'm sure that's not going to be the last incident we see out of this race, with just how sort of desperate things are going to be getting towards the halfway mark now. It's already been 29 minutes of racing. We're approaching the 30-minute mark now. 31 minutes left to go in this race already. Looking at the lineup of things, of course, subject to change here, as we can see things rearing up between Luke Wilson and Ian Skeen on the run towards turn 4. We're looking at the total lineup of drivers at this time. We approach the halfway mark. Marcus Pilkington leads in the hour of Zolder. Paul Muller second. Adam Saunders in third. Ian Skeen fourth. Alongside him is Luke Wilson, looking to move up into fourth at the time. He is fifth. Conor Lepford not far behind is 6th, Misha Mellis 7th, Aaron Williams in 8th, Luca Heinz 9th, and Chris Elliott makes top 10. Nye Roberts 11th, Archie Bush 12th, Serco Yessen 13th, Benjamin Mark 14th, Monty Bush 15th, Paul McHugh 16th, Dylan Herbert in 17th, Dylan Hart in 18th, Mike Wade 19th, Jacob Althouse in 20th, Dennis Kuhleman 21st, Norbert Horvath in 22nd, and Richard Franklin in 23rd. Of course, that is all subject to change as well.
Indeed, so we lost 2 cars as well from the start of the race, unfortunate to see. Of course, it's still to see 23 cars still going. It's such a short track. It is very, very interesting to see, especially how things will play out as this race goes on. Of course, for the leader, that just means more cars he's going to have to pass on his way through. It means more action all throughout the field.
Luke Wilson makes his way to the pits next inside the top 5. K1 driver on his way down towards his pit box now in the number 212. That's going to mean not only an easy position there for Conor Lepford, who moves up to P5, could be another easy position for Misha Mellis further down the order as he heads towards turn 10 at the Jackie Xbox. Unless he too goes into the pits, it could be a free position here on Luke Wilson's car. In regards to things, though, inside that battle for P2, Muller now 2.5 seconds clear of Saunders, who still retains the fastest lap of this race at the halfway mark. Now, all drivers inside that top 5 yet to have taken a pit stop. We've had a few drivers who were in top 5 now outside of it that have come in and taken their mandated pit stop. That leaves us with that pivotal top 5 still outside of regulation.
We'll just keep an eye on another battle here. I do believe that Roberts is actually pulling away, but it's Roberts and Elliott. Right now, Elliott having not served his pit stop just yet, so of course Roberts, with everything on the car, a bit freshened up by the looks of things, pulling away. And actually, yeah, you see him already getting that gap miles up. There, just 2.1 seconds splitting the two of them.
A stop go, 30-second penalty for Luke Wilson there. Infractions in the pit lane. So second time this has happened in this race. Now happens to a driver who was sort of up there in the top 5. That's going to have a massive hamper on his finishing position over the course of the race. He's now at P11 at this time. We see with how small this track is as well. The drivers who are only down in sort of 9th, 10th and 11th are already in the path of drivers in that top 3, if not already been lapped by drivers in the top 3. Oh, down at the Kleiner chicane. That was Dennis Kuhleman that's just had a spin there. The Ferrari all the way around, facing the wrong way there. The number 66 trying to get the car back round and gets moving there.
We've got to battle, by the way. Unfortunately, it will be hampered by the penalty, the stop go that Wilson has. But Bush, 0.6 seconds behind the McLaren of Wilson. But that battle may be cut short if Wilson's to dive into pits and serve that penalty straight away. We'll see just now. And there you go, he does dive to the pits. So there you go, Bush gets a free position. Unfortunately for us, so that means we don't get the battle that we were hoping for.
Misha Mellis is in the pits at this time, now taking his mandated pit stop. As for news inside that top 5...
see a car off there as well. I believe that was who was that there? I'm not too sure what that was. I think that was Althouse in 19th in the Lamborghini. I think it was off the track. I wasn't entirely sure. I didn't get the best view as we passed by on board with Horvath.
Now, quite a big risk there by Althouse to move over to Lamborghini. It's not exactly the easiest platform to tackle, especially coming off the back of racing with Nissan. So for Althouse, it's really going to be a sort of bedding in period here for the driver to get used to his new machinery. Currently down in 19th. Takes a spin around Erst corner there, turn 1. Having to jump the long way around him. Was one of the McLaren cars there.
We actually saw a stop go given to Mellis
there. Mellis, yes.
Yeah, the 22 Ferrari, unfortunately for him, once again speeding in the pit lane, I believe it was.
So a lot of drivers struggling with that pit lane, whether it's the entry or the exit. It's some sort of way that the pit lane's been designed here. At Zolder is catching a lot of drivers out, forcing them to make these rookie errors. Of course,
I know we've got a massive off in the background. I was way in the back to car number 9. It was Althouse. Once again, you see in the Lamborghini, I believe it is, and we just see there on the side. I don't think we actually get a view of it.
Into the
But
pits
something
there for
has
Jacob
happened.
Althaus.
It's really unfortunate to see. We've got a battle actually on our hands right now. It's a 3-car battle. It's Wilson, Herbert, and Hart, all for P14 here. So interesting to see who's to come out on top. Of course, as we saw earlier, Wilson, after serving that penalty, finds himself down in 14th, but still shoved right out the pits into a battle between a McLaren, a Mercedes, and a Lamborghini, not a Lamborghini. And all Hart goes right off on the exit to turn 7 at Tarlemont. We see Herb actually really applying the pressure to Wilson. So for someone who took a stop-go penalty way up the order, now finding himself lower down, he probably wasn't expecting to find himself under this sort of pressure.
Dylan Herbert, who, by the way, more often cited driving a Lamborghini, makes his debut for Mercedes down in 15th position at this time. So already still sticking to form, though. Dylan Herbert prided on his ability to battle inside the pack. Is going to be looking to put pressure there on a driver like Luke Wilson.
Yes, indeed. If I'm not mistaken as well, the points begin from P15. If I'm not mistaken,
So
I will just quickly fact check
well.
myself on that. Yeah, that could be a crucial position. I do just check it now. Bear with 1 second.
The current situation inside that top 5, no one yet to have taken a dive into the pits. With Ian Skeen currently 4th position, making his way around turn 10. We wait to see what the response is of the car in 5th position, Connor Letford, as he makes his way towards the 10th turn here and goes around. So he's not going to be going into the pits. So all drivers in that top 5 look to be going for that late strategy that you mentioned earlier in the stream. I think a lot of these drivers are going to be timing it towards maybe the final 10 or so minutes of this race. They're confident that the tyres can take them to that point, and would much rather brave colder tyres much later in the race when they've already had the time to form a gap to the drivers who pitted earlier.
If I'm not mistaken as well, that gap between Pilkington and Muller is slowly, gradually coming down now. Or is it? As I meant to say that, you see the gap go up from 3.6 to 3.8. And we see Muller way off onto the grass there, almost having a very big moment there, possibly going off to the wall, but he does very well just to keep it under control. Actually doesn't lose too much time from it somehow there. If anything, Saunders gained a little bit. But very impressive car control from Muller. And by the way, I've just to confirm, it is from P15 that the points start, so actually crucial points could be fought for down the order in P15. To actually go on board, looking through the order once again, another battle for P19 this is. It's Bush and Mark. And no, not Archie Bush, it's his brother if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Monty Bush
gets
into one of his first battles here in TRR as he gets within 2 seconds of new signing Benjamin Mark, the number 24 Mercedes. And they run down to the Kleiner chicane. Currently sits 1.9 seconds, makes it 2 seconds as we approach the Kleiner chicane. For Monty Bush, it's been a long journey since his debut there in Suzuka, and that may just be the opportunity he needs to move up into the top 19 positions. From his debut in Suzuka, it was a shaky start for the new signing. Of course, brother of famed driver Archie Bush, a long-time name in TRR. So quite a set of boots to fill here for the prodigal signing. Now looking to go toe-to-toe, getting into what is amongst his first battles here in ACC. Tries to nose it to the inside there of Benjamin Mark. Actually makes contact and into the wall there.
He may find himself in a little bit of trouble for that one, unfortunately for him. It was a good lunge in the first place, going for a very late move. And then on the exit, unfortunately, just find himself getting a tiny bit of contact, and that's always just enough, especially when getting on the power. It takes just the smallest of
something to mention as well is the gap between Muller and Saunders is now sitting at around a second, meaning these two are getting closer and closer. On that last lap, Saunders was 0.3 faster than Muller, meaning a battle could very well be imminent. As we approach the 20-minute mark here in Circuit Zolder, could very well see another battle, this time inside the top 3 between Adam Saunders and Paul Muller, two championship rivals at this time. The defending world champion Paul Muller still squaring off against the contender here, Adam Saunders.
Indeed, every single point between these two is going to be absolutely crucial come the end of the season, I'm sure of that. But Muller, of course, has a big gap to try and make up for. And this is in one of them races where it's going to be absolutely crucial to keep your challenger behind. Of course, get your shoulders out, but don't be too aggressive. We don't want to see no silly behaviour between either of them. We know that emotions can get easily involved when you're in these sorts of battles, but I'm sure both of these two are good enough to keep their heads in these sorts of battles.
These are two drivers who have been around the block. These are two drivers that understand the pressures of being in battle for long periods of time. They're drivers that can hold their nerve for long periods of time as well. I have confidence then that this battling will not end in bloodshed.
Oh.
Saunders dives it to the pits, so going to be attempting some kind of overcut on Muller. We'll see what Saunders' strategy is. Now, a lot of the drivers were suggesting coming into this race it would be a stop and drop for the greater majority of drivers further up the order, just to not sacrifice a clean slate on the tyres and rather take the more worn-in tyres that are more susceptible to overheating and putting more heat back into them once they exit the pits. Saunders, though, we'll see where that strategy lands him, and as a matter of fact, what strategy he'll be selecting. Makes his way to the pit box. Engine is
Actually,
off.
it's a long stop by the looks of things. Or is
No,
it? No,
it's a
it was
stop and
very
drop.
quick
So-
one. Yeah, you go.
So for Saunders, he'll cycle those tyres. He'll stay on the same set for the entire race. Now comes the challenge, not only catching the cars ahead of him, but also trying to get the heat back into those tyres, as a stop even as short as that is enough to extinguish the greater majority of the heat he had worked so diligently to build up over the course of the last 42 minutes of racing.
No,
So perhaps
also,
this
I
is
do
going to be a
this every
ripple
race.
effect down the order here. 5 at this time, 4 cars ahead of him, yet to have taken their pit stops. First heading towards the pits then, race leader Marcus Pilkington staying out on track. We'll see what the response is by Paul Muller. He stays out on track. Ian Skeen a few corners down. We'll wait to see what his response is to the matter. As now, strategy is going to become an element that dictates the race victory here.
Stephen, oh my word, we caught on board there with Letford having a very, very big moment on the exit of the Tielemans-Bocht section, getting on the grass and very, very almost finding himself in the barrier, but doing once again very, very well just to keep himself out of it. Just had to get the throttle down, the power on, just to boost himself away from the wall, and does just enough to do so. And he's off again.
Ooh, that is trouble there for Connor Letford. Perhaps the harbinger of a run into the pits very soon here for the number 296. More than happy to be inside that top 5. Let's see what he can do in the next 17.5 minutes of racing. Another driver yet to have taken their pit stop so far is Chris Elliott in the number 64 Mercedes. Makes his way around turn 2, now into turn 3.
Currently on board as well. I'm just scrolling through the order just whilst we are in a bit of a quiet period, whilst the pit stops are separating most of the cars from a battle. On board with Wade, just currently on the verge of points, not quite in P15 just yet, and P15 so far nowhere really to be seen anywhere near him so far. But as we know, a small mistake from someone up the order can easily find himself moving way up the pack and getting into the point scoring positions.
Something to note as well, new livery there for Mike Wade. We're normally used to seeing some of that white, red and yellow. Now we get to see this more, I don't know, what would you say, what, 80s colours here? This neon blue, electric green, very vibrant colours adorning the 296 of Mike Wade. Bit of a refresh of things then.
But very nice colours, I must say myself.
Very eye-catching indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Still looking around the paddock here for any information regarding the next possible pit stop, and all of the drivers in that top 4 still scot-free toward the start-finish line. No attempt to move into the pits at this time.
At all, and actually just went on board with Saunders right now, and he's currently almost taking qualifying laps right now. in order to close that time between himself and the front runners, because of course he did take the earlier pit stop of the two. He's just looking, he's facing an imaginary gap right now, trying to close that down, not knowing how close he'll be on exit to the other cars, because of course he doesn't know what they'll do on their pit stop, though judging from what we know from them taking the later pit stop, you can only imagine they won't be looking to change tyres. They'll just be looking to get right back out after their pit stop and try and get themselves going, get them tyres fired up as quickly as they can come the end of the race. All while Saunders, of course, when approaching, will have his tyres way fired up. He will be on the advantage as they exit the pit. If he is close enough, he could find himself in a very, very good position here.
Saunders, despite his sudden spur of pace, he's still a bit far off from the eye-watering pace he had towards the start of this race, where he was hitting consistent 128s. Fastest lap of this race was set on lap 8 by Saunders, a 128.477. So if he's rearing up to a performance akin to that, we could definitely expect to see Saunders shoot a few positions upward towards the front row here in the next 14.5 minutes.
Indeed. But just to note as well, the gap between Muller and Pilkington, just 2.6 seconds, and actually the race has gone by so quickly. We're already at 14 minutes or 14.5 minutes left to go. We'll quickly just take a look at the order, and there you see, of course, Pilkington and Muller first and second there, while Skeen in third right now. Of course, the top four is still yet to pit. Skeen, Letford, Muller and Pilkington all still yet to pit, while Saunders is in first place out of the people who haven't pitted. But of course he's going to have to try and find the pace and the time to catch Pilkington and Muller and get past them when they do finally pit. Whilst looking just behind him, we have Williams down in 6th, Heinz in 7th. So actually Heinz has lost the place to Williams. I'm not too sure what's happened there.
Luca Heinz, it's been a very mixed bag here. Luca Heinz in the 433 started P2, currently down in P7.
And then looking through us as well, after that we've got Roberts down in 8th, Bush in 9th, Elliott still yet to take their pit stop but currently in P10, Jessen in P11, Wilson in P12, Hart in P13, Herbert 14th, and to finish out the point scoring positions right now in 15th is McHugh, whilst Wade is in 16th. Kuhlman in 17th, Mellis in 18th, and Bush in 19th.
I always do find it quite endearing seeing the 488 on track, and the fact that Paul McHugh is able to get this car that is, I'd argue, quite a few generations older than its contemporaries in the field up into those point scoring positions is an achievement in and of itself for the number 77. You see, he's not alone in the older fleet of cars as well, with Chris Elliott behind the wheel of a 2015 spec Mercedes AMG and inside the top 10 at this time.
We still just look through the pack to see what could be going on elsewhere. Is there any battling at all right now? It really doesn't look like it. We are still in that sort of quiet end of the race, where everyone is separated from one another, and it's now just about more survival, trying to keep yourself on the track and avoid any track limits warnings, because as we've seen as well, it's so easy to find yourself with a penalty that can ruin your race completely. It's just the stop-go 30-second penalty. The drive-through would have been enough to ruin your race, but the stop-go only adds to that pain.
Despite only being 2.5 miles long, it feels even shorter than that. No thanks in part to the fact that the circuit is a good 90% of just corners. I think the longest straight we have is the one on the run down towards turn 10. And I think that almost paralleled by the run from turn 10 towards turn 1. So in the grand scheme of things, you spend the great majority of your time at those lower speeds. The circuit does feel a lot shorter than 2.5 miles. So Connor Letford comes into the pits then from P4. That invites Adam Saunders up to 4th position. Letford now on the back foot here as he's subject to lose more positions, with Williams not too far behind, looking to move up into that top 5. Also in tow at this time, Luca Heinz, looking to lap Luke Wilson.
So could this be, just to see what he does?
Could this be the harbinger of events that takes us towards the checkered flag here in 11 minutes time, with the first of those top 4 that have stayed out on their tyres for the longest period of time also joining them would be Chris Elliott down in P10 to have stayed out for an equal length of time. Has gone into the pits and taken a pit stop. Oh, I have to interrupt myself there because it looks like trouble for Richard Franklin. The number 19 car, the McLaren there down in 22nd, spun around at the exit of the Terlemanbocht. Found himself
and
the
McHugh's
wrong
made a
way.
mistake here. Sorry, well, I was going to say there is a battle coming up, but McHugh slowed right the way down, pulled to the side to allow Skeen to lap him. Sorry, and in doing so, McHugh ends up finding himself being passed by Wade to get up into P15. So there you go. Wade is up into the point scoring position
as well. There's been an incident further down the line between Chris Elliott and Serko Jessen. Chris Elliott has a drive-through penalty there, ran wide out of the Telemann and collided with Serko Jessen. Serko Jessen's up to P10. Chris Elliott has dropped 2 positions there on his run towards turn 8. Nearly knocked Luca Heinz out of commission there on his run to turn 8. Looks like severe damages on board the number 64 Mercedes on its run towards the pits.
There you go, heading into the last 10 minutes. We're seeing all the drama start to unfold, all just like that. It's Elliott really with a wounded car then having to dive right into the pits. Hopefully it's nothing too major, but by the looks of things it's not going to be a quick job.
By no means there. Chris Elliott limping the 64 towards the pits, nearly collided with the inside wall there. Still has a drive-through to serve, so it's going to be 2 more pit stops for Chris Elliott before the checkered flag comes out. It's got quite the list of things to get sorted. Marcus Pilkington comes into the pits. Paul Muller's going to move into the lead of this race. So for Pilkington, who was just for a moment there the race leader before it was taken off him by Paul Muller, it's going to be the case. What can he do from inside the pit lane here that's going to spell victory in the next 8 minutes' time? Is it going to be a stop and drop for Pilkington?
Now we have a battle as well for P8. It's Roberts versus Bush right now. The gap's 0.2 seconds around the first corner for a moment, but Roberts managed to open it up just a little bit more to 0.6 seconds. So very, very close between these two, but not quite as close as we've seen so far. But that gap has been coming down in the last lap I've been watching for.
You see as well, Archie Bush, who had a huge incident at the start of this race, is now inside the top 10. It was a term that I coined in one of the previous races where I've labelled him the king of the comeback drive, and you can really see why that's been put into practice. Bush now inside not only the point scoring positions, but inside the top 10 from all the way at the back after missing out on qualifying. So he's really done quite a lot here to put himself in contention alongside Nye Roberts. For Pilkington, it appears that his pit stop has not counted. I don't know if that's an incorrection with my... No, that is nothing to do with any technology on my end. Marcus Pilkington appears to have not taken a pit stop. I don't know if you can verify that from your end, but...
I mean, yeah, we'll quickly try and find him as quick as I can. Hopefully that is not the case, but by the looks of things, from what you're saying, it could be absolute devastation for Pilkington here. So we do go through the order. Actually, I did see him just there, and yeah, you are correct. Stop has for whatever reason not counted, so he found himself pulling out ahead of Saunders after the pit, but the pit stop, like you say, Regan, has not counted, so he's going to have to serve that again. Absolute devastation for Pilkington there then.
That has got to really, really sting for Marcus Pilkington. He was in every possible position there to go on and win the race. He had immaculate strategy here, and I think the game has really just let him down there. Could have been a 3 for 3 for Marcus Pilkington. He's going to need to hope for a miracle now if he wants to keep that record alive. Otherwise, looks like a new victor is among our ranks here today in Zolder.
Bush has had an absolutely fantastic run out of the Klein chicane. He's actually got it done. What a move that was from Bush to get around the outside of the Buta corner. That very, very fast left-hander now finds himself ahead at the end of turn 7. So a fantastic move from the 911 Porsche, and now already pulling away ever so slightly from Roberts. I think it caught Roberts absolutely completely off guard there, and it caught me off guard too.
It's a fantastic show of pace there by Archie Bush to move himself up to P8, gets by Nye Roberts. All the while, we can also see stop-go 30-second penalty dished out to Benjamin Mark. Drive-through penalty yet to have been served by Chris Elliott. So a lot of drama still unfolding as we hit the final act of racing here. Adam Saunders right to the back end of Marcus Pilkington at this time. As we head round turn 8, there's not really much that Pilkington can do in this situation. He knows that his race is effectively run here. Had it not been for the fact that his pit stop had failed, he would have still been in the runnings to win this race. Right now, he is under serious threat. Ian Skeen into the pits now. Paul Muller still out on track on the exit of the Kleiner chicane.
Now, one thing I'm left to question is, will Pilkington put that forward to race control at the end of this race to say he has served his pit stop and the game has just had an error? Or will he serve it like a normal? It's interesting to see how he'll manage this situation. Because, of course, at the end of the race as well, I'm pretty sure if he doesn't serve that, it would disqualify him. But, of course, we know from the results whereabouts he exactly is from this race.
Exactly so.
Very,
and it looks like even regardless of how the penalty is sort of handled or how it is served at this time, Marcus Pilkington still has to fight for the lead of this race, as right to his back at this time is Adam Saunders.
Yes, indeed. Still, the gap between these two has gone right back to where we started, with Pilkington and Saunders battling, and the gap between them just seems to never change as the race goes on. They just cannot be separated.
I'm sure all of this drama unfolding inside that top 5 is going to be sort of lingering in the mind at the moment of Paul Muller as he leads this race, and is currently trying to negotiate lapped traffic on his way round turn 4. Got Dylan Hart ahead of him on the run down towards the Kleiner chicane. Not an ideal area of the track to be held up, especially when you've yet to take your pit stop and you've got 2 drivers barreling down the track from just over half a lap away, looking to take that position off you.
Still, Saunders follows closely behind Pilkington, but still not close enough to make a move. It just shows how close you really have to be. It's normally about 0.3 seconds you'd expect cars to be in order to try and go for a move, but here it's about 0.1 seconds you need to be almost within touching distance of the car ahead to have any chance of making a move on them. Still, with just 3 minutes 30 left to go of this race, we're so close to the end, and Muller's still yet to take his pit stop.
There was a little bit of trouble there for Dylan Herbert. The number 90 car had a bit of an off at the Turleman Bocht. Puts himself P13 at the time. Paul Muller is into the pit, so the deciding factor here of what goes on towards the checkered flag. 3 minutes on the clock here. Muller still rolling towards his pit box. Pilkington and Saunders closing the gap. So I'm still a tad confused as to how this will play out. It sure did look like Marcus Pilkington went into the pits. It still has that indicator to his name. Will he be treating this as a scenario where he can stay out on track and battle it with the stewards? We'll see. Paul Muller is on the run out of the pits as these two head down the pit straight at this time, so it could be incredibly close between Pilkington, Saunders and Muller. It looks like Muller might just have the advantage on the exit of turn 1. Now as we head towards turn 2, it looks like, yes, Paul Muller will exit just ahead of the 2 cars behind him.
Oh,
Marcus
and as you say,
still fending off Saunders.
Very close to contact there. It got so close. I don't know how they haven't touched there.
But still leading this race, and with only minutes to spare, Paul Muller, 38 laps in, leads here in Zolder after that pit stop. You can see he's having to swerve on the run down towards the Kleiner chicane, eagerly trying to build heat in those tyres. So it looks like the journey's far from over here for Pilkington. While yes, he's in a commanding P2, even if he's to battle this penalty, he'll still be P2.
Yes, indeed.
This could be the end of an era here for Pilkington. A track he was incredibly powerful at. One that he has a firm track record of. Looks to be thrown into question here today with Paul Muller with a minute and 30 left to go. So as we approach the final lap of racing, we're going to cross the start-finish line here to signify the final lap of racing. Paul Muller leads from Pilkington, Saunders 3rd, Aaron Williams 4th, and Ian Skeen 5th. Luca Hutch in 6th, Connor Left 7th, Archie Bush 8th, Niall Roberts 9th, Luke Wilson 10th, Serco Jessen 11th, Dylan Hart 12th, Dylan Herbert 13th, Mike Wade 14th, and Dennis Coleman rounding out the points positions And a very controversial hour of Zolder it has been.
Indeed. 20, still someone yet to take their pit stop. So two people have got the same problem by the looks of it. But for Pilkington, he's probably in the hottest water of them all, because he really is going to if he's to finish second, because it's a huge points deficit that he could be building up there. Or whilst for Muller, if Pilkington is to get it in favour of winning this race and Pilkington stays second, that could be a huge points gained on Saunders in the championship battle. Just to know, this battle doesn't seem to be over just yet, as the gap's only 0.4 seconds. Could we see a very, very late move from Pilkington to salvage the race, win out this race as they round turn 8 now? Pilkington is right to the back of the Lamborghini of Muller. Could we see a final move into the final corner?
On our way down to turn 10, it looks like there won't be the move there, so that means that Marcus Pilkington dethroned as Paul Muller gets towards the line, takes away that 100% win rate. Paul Muller is the winner of the hour of Zolder. I'm sure that's got to be gut-wrenching for Pilkington. Nonetheless, a confident P2 there. Adam Saunders P3. Aaron Williams next towards the line is going to be ecstatic with P4 in this race. Perhaps not the result he was expecting coming into this, but one he'll be absolutely pleased with. Ian Skeen next towards the line will be in the top 5 there on his first run with Porsche here in TRR. He'll be absolutely ecstatic with the way things have turned out there. His first time in competition behind the wheel of the new generation 911 puts him very nicely inside that top 5. Luca Heinz on a race maybe not one he wants to remember, still in a very confident P6. Connor Letford next towards the line is P7. And he's had a bit of a mixed bag here in terms of his race. Nonetheless, more than happy to be inside that top 10, all things said and done. Archie Bush then, king of the comeback drive, is inside that top 10, and he'll do you one better. He's inside the top 8. 8th position there for Bush as he gets towards the line. Right behind him, Nye Roberts in P9. Luke Wilson makes his way to P10. Serco Yes in P11. Dylan Hart P12. Dylan Herbert 13th. Mike Wade in the points in 14th position as he heads down to the line now. He'll be absolutely overjoyed by that result, being in the points there. Crucial top 15 positions. He's 14th. Dennis Kuhleman rounds out the top 15 there. So what an end to the race. That has been a very controversial hour of Zolder indeed. The third ever running of the hour of Zolder ends with a new winner, with Paul Muller, the new victor of the hour of Zolder.
Even with that penalty, you know, just Pilkington only down to ninth, there. So not the end of the world for him, but of course I'm sure there will be strong words towards the race control to try and get that sorted for himself, because a P2 finish could mean the world in the championship points. Not only, I think Muller may put a strong argument across for him as well, because of course he'll need that points deficit to Saunders in this battle.
Well, that is absolutely one of the more exciting ends to a race I've seen in my time. Not sure about you, but that was battling from start to finish. Plenty of action, plenty of drama, and quite the climactic finale. As races go, not many get much better than the hour of Zolder. We sure do hope to see this return in the next season of the Sprint Series. I think our next round here in the Sprint Series is our first ever Super Sprint race, the 45 minutes of Barcelona next Friday. For those of you tuning in for F1, we have a race coming up this Sunday, which is Interlagos at the penultimate round of Season 3. The TRR
from me there. Yeah, but other than that, I do believe that is the end from us. Thank you very, very much for watching once again, and we'll see you next time out for the Super Sprint race next Friday. And other than that, well, take care from us. Regan, any last words?
No, that's all from me. Thank you very much for watching and take care.
See you in a bit.